Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are learning about SCP-513, aka a cowbell. What's scary about a cowbell? I guess we're about to find out. Okay, that is a fantastic way to open this.
Capture it all in a succession of quick, stark flashes. CSI technicians do what they can to pick up the broken pieces. Posted at the gate, a rookie doubles over and throws up, while his older partner gives him a sympathetic pat on the back.
Okay, guys, we have absolutely no clue what this is, other than it has something to do with the cowbell, and this is like the most gnarly ways to open an SCP animation video. We have a guy keeling over and vomiting. It's supposedly one of the most nasty things ever, and it has to do with a cowbell. The thing that cows wear so you know like where they are at all times, because they just make like a little jingle. So I don't know exactly how scary this is going to be, but it seems like it's going to be pretty deadly.
He can't hide his own discomfort at the things they've seen today. The call came in the middle of the night from a pair of concerned hikers on the outskirts of town. They were halfway through their nightly walk down an old country road when they heard screaming from a nearby farm. When officers finally made their way down to the farmhouse, it was too late. Everyone there was dead. Nobody to save. All that's left to do is pick up the pieces and figure out what the hell actually happened. The detective leans under a yellow garland of crime scene tape and asks an attending officer what they know so far. The cop, who looks pale and clammy, swallows over a lump in his throat and says, "Looks like the old farmer snapped and went postal.
What?
Whole family's dead.
What?
Found his body in the barn." He heads inside to take a look at the carnage. It's a veritable house of horrors.
Wow.
The farmer's wife is dead in the kitchen. The children were both murdered in their beds. The detective can't say he's ever seen a murder done in such cold blood, so detached. For a man with no history of violence to do something so terrible to his loved ones for no reason. The detective shakes his head and walks upstairs, sliding on rubber gloves to avoid contaminating the scene.
Okay, guys, so I like to make predictions in these SCP videos, and right off the bat, I'm thinking that obviously we know it has something to do with the cowbell, and they're on a farm, so you're going to assume that they probably have farm animals, like maybe some chickens, maybe some pigs, maybe some cows, and the cows probably wear cowbells, and I'm thinking maybe there's a particular cowbell that when you hear it, it infects your mind, and then you just go absolutely crazy. I know that there's a disease called mad cow disease that I'm pretty sure it's kind of like rabies, where it just makes you into this like absolutely berserk, like King Kong, absolutely just like crazy human. If you were to get this, and I know that cows can get it, but maybe it's the same idea where if you get exposed to this SCP cowbell, that it turns you into a maniac that is willing to do crazy things like, I don't know, like kill your entire family, which sounds horrible, but that's just my prediction. Comment down below what you guys think.
He goes room to room, making fastidious notes about anything suspicious. He's got a keen eye for this kind of thing. The man's a 20-year veteran of the force. He's seen some terrible things. But as he lays his eyes on the bodies of the victims, he can't help but feel a chill tiptoeing down his vertebrae. In the master bedroom, where the now-deceased farmer and his wife once shared a loving marital bed, he hits some pay dirt, a diary in the bedside cabinet. He flips through. Early on, it's all mundane, scattered thoughts for the day at hand and little to-do lists for the next one. But the last 3 entries contain a marked shift from what came before. The first one reads, "He seemed shook up when he came back from the barn today. He's awful quiet about it. Said something like, 'I heard something I shouldn't have.' In the barn? Don't know what that could mean.
It had to be the
I decided
cowbell.
not to press. Stressed enough already. He didn't say much to the kids during dinner. Kept looking over his shoulder. Freaked me out something terrible. I don't know what did it, but whatever it was, it put a scare in him."
Okay, so he has some sort of paranoia. He thinks that something is out to get him.
The second reads, "I'm starting to worry about him. It's been a few days since whatever he heard in the barn, and he ain't gotten any better. In fact, I think he's getting worse. He won't shower. Something about the bathroom mirror, he just won't go in there.
What?
He hasn't been eating. Worst of all, he doesn't sleep. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and see him sit and bolt upright.
Okay, that is creepy. If you're ever like sleeping or at a sleepover and you just see like one of your friends or something just like sitting upright when it's like 4 a.m. and there's nothing to do and they're not like on their phone, they're just staring at the wall, watching paint dry. That stuff creeps me out, because if that was me and I saw somebody doing that, I would call the cops. I would call the cops. I would get out of there, because why are you acting that creepy?
Staring at the bedroom door, not saying a word, not even blinking. The third and final entry reads, "This ain't the man I married anymore. There's something wrong with him. It's scaring the kids and it's scaring me. He started bringing his gun to bed every night.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Doesn't sleep, just sits there with it. He never sleeps. When I asked him what's happening, he told me something's coming. But it's okay. He won't let it get us no matter what. I don't understand. I'm gonna take the kids and go stay with Mom for a few weeks while he works this out. But I'm afraid of what he'll do if he realizes. The gun is always loaded." The detective sighs and slides the diary into an evidence baggie. It was, sadly, a tale he'd heard all too many times.
Really?
The terrible things we can do to the ones we love when we're not ourselves.
Okay, also guys, is it just me or does this SCP detective kind of look like Eddie Murphy?
Though it now seems cut and dry, a mental break snowballing into a massacre, one detail is still gnawing at the detective. What did the farmer hear in the barn that day? When the detective enters, he orders everyone else to leave. He needs some time alone in here. As the people file out, he approaches the farmer's corpse. He's laying in the straw, head a bloody mess, bludgeoned beyond recognition.
What?
And yet, he's the one holding the blood-stained hammer.
Wait a second,
And
so
in his
he
other
did
hand,
it to himself.
He's clutching something even stranger.
The cowbell.
A rusty old cowbell. Of all the things to be holding in your last moments on Earth, the detective thinks as he reaches over. Something about the bell draws his eye. Why, after murdering his entire family, would a man head out into the barn and, presumably, try and fail to hammer a cowbell to pieces? As he picks up the bell, he runs his gloved fingers along the rust. Other than the wear and tear of age, the bell shows no signs of actual damage. It's such a strange, innocuous object. What's the significance? His internal musing is interrupted when a large spider, the kind that like to make their homes in straw-filled barns, suddenly crawls out from inside the...
Burn it, burn the entire place down, grab your handy-dandy flamethrower, and start going crazy, because that spider is huge!
...bell and onto the detective's hand. He drops the bell, an involuntary shock
Oh
reflex.
no, he's going...
Hits the ground
He's
with a
gonna hear
brassy
it.
gong. The sound lingers in the air for far longer than it should.
Oh.
Seems almost like it's getting louder. The detective feels his heartbeat speeding up. His breath's getting heavy and labored. The sound gets louder. It feels like someone is sitting on his chest. He falls to his knees, scratching at his swelling throat. His heart pounds. Is he having a heart attack? He claws at the dirt and straw beneath him, trying desperately to get a handle on things as the world around him seems to go dark. The toll of the cowbell gets louder and louder. Eventually, he's able to force out a scream, then collapses to the ground.
It's always so weird with these SCP videos. Obviously, some of them are creatures like Shy Guy or the sculpture or the prototype, right? Where they're like these monsters that could be out of like a Halloween movie. But then there's SCPs like this, which is just a good old-fashioned looking cowbell that doesn't really seem to have like anything weird about it, except for the fact that if you hear it, it apparently kills you, which is really weird, and I have a good feeling there's a lot more to this than we currently know.
When his eyes open, he's being carted away on a stretcher to a nearby ambulance, parked just outside the crime scene. When a paramedic asks him if he's okay, the only thing he can stutter out through his dry mouth is, "Don't touch the bell. Don't let anyone touch the bell." The doctor who treats him will later tell him there are no signs of any physical ailment. In all likelihood, the detective had experienced a severe anxiety attack. When the detective tells the doctor that he has no history of anxiety attacks and that this is far from the first violent crime scene he's encountered, the doctor purses his lips and knits his brow in concentration. "Very strange," the doctor says. "Perhaps just take it easy for the next few days. Work stress can sneak up on a person, especially in a career as high stakes as yours. It can sometimes manifest in rather strange ways." That night, the detective is at home, brewing himself a soothing cup of herbal tea on his doctor's recommendation. He's still racked by a strange uneasiness from earlier in the day. You see, one of the keys to being a good detective is pattern recognition. You're able to detect obscure links between pieces of information that other people, in the stress of the moment, may not correlate. As the detective sips his tea, he remembers the first entry in the farmer's wife's diary. When the farmer's downward spiral started, it began with him hearing something he shouldn't have inside the barn.
That is what he originally said, right? So you got to think that this guy, the detective that heard it, is probably going to go down the same exact path as the farmer, where he started out kind of normal, but he said that he heard something, and then every single day that passed, he kept acting a little bit weirder, until it got so weird, and then he tried to destroy the bell, but he ended up destroying his family and himself. So I'm really hoping that this detective doesn't go down that path, but he just said that it's all about patterns, and it seems like the pattern might repeat itself and happen to him.
The detective doesn't know a lot about what happened to himself in that barn either, but he can safely say he heard something he shouldn't have heard too. He sighs. No point in psyching himself out like this. After all, it's just the post-attack jitters, and turns to his kitchen window, hoping to look out at the night sky and feel a little more at peace.
Yeah, wait, guys, there's also something with the mirror, because the wife was saying earlier that her husband wasn't able to go to the bathroom because there was something off about the mirror. So you got to think that maybe when the cowbell infects you, it maybe, I don't know, makes you paranoid, obviously, and it makes you see things in the mirror that you're not supposed to see, which is why he didn't want to go back into the bathroom to take a shower, because he would have to see something in the mirror that he shouldn't.
Instead, he sees something out of a nightmare. A tall figure standing behind him,
Oh
somewhere in the
my
ballpark.
God, I was
Human,
right.
But also somehow not. It's tall, fleshy, and emaciated. Its face is too smooth, with bulging eyes and a large
Oh
mouth being the
my
only
God.
features. It reaches for him with
What?
huge, spindle-fingered hands, mere centimeters away from the back
Wait a
of his
second,
head.
can this
But the
actually
second it
touch
sees
him?
Looking at it, it turns and begins to run.
Huh?
The detective's mug falls and shatters on the ground. He turns with an involuntary yelp to track the creature, but it's already gone. His kitchen is empty and silent. Of course, one question haunts his mind. What the hell just happened? He's no fool. He knows the mind can play funny tricks on you.
That was
After
not
all,
a funny
who hasn't
trick.
seen something out of the corner of their eye that gave them a momentary...
Okay, comment down below if you've ever seen something like that in your mirror.
Right, before realizing that it was just a trick of the imagination. But this wasn't just a flicker playing on a paranoid mind. The detective would swear on his mother's life that he truly saw this thing. Some bizarre humanoid monster standing behind him in his reflection. He doesn't know which possibility scares him more, that there really was something behind him, or that he's starting to lose his mind. Either offered a number of frightening possibilities, but the detective does what he does best, applies logic to a situation. He'd spent the day around a particularly distressing crime scene, read something unnerving in the diary of one of the victims, and suffered a panic attack in the barn. All of this was just a suggestion implanted in his mind, connections being threaded where they shouldn't.
Guys, I don't know. He's trying to talk himself out of the fact that maybe there's something a little extra going on here, because obviously most people in these SCP videos, they don't even know about SCPs. They don't even think that SCPs could be real. So they're not prepared to deal with like something that's supernatural. So this guy, obviously, he's not thinking to himself that the cowbell is anything weird. He just thinks that he had a stressful day, that he had a panic attack. So he's just like, his mind isn't right, and that he's just seeing things and hearing things. But in actuality, there's an SCP messing with this guy, and he's infected, and he needs to get to the SCP Foundation right now before anything bad happens.
Natural side effect of a brain wired to register patterns in strange data clusters. The detective does his best to remain calm for the rest of the evening. Fear is the mind killer.
He's performing
Panic
mind
only
control.
ever makes a situation worse. These are both things he believes, but he can't seem to shake that creeping feeling of dread. He's being watched. For the first time in his adult life, the detective decides he doesn't want to sleep in the dark. All those shapes in the blackness put him on edge. He thinks that a good night's sleep will probably have him right as rain by tomorrow morning. Everything passes eventually. As his mind drifts and his eyes begin to flutter closed, he starts to wonder if he always left that...
Oh, wait a second, guys. I just realized this, that the husband from earlier, the farmer, wouldn't sleep. Every single time that the wife would wake up, he would be wide awake with a gun. So it seems like whatever creature he just saw in the mirror earlier is actively going to hunt him. But it's kind of like the sculpture SCP, where as long as you look at it and as long as you see it, it can't attack you. But as soon as you close your eyes or as soon as you're looking away in the mirror, then it has the ability to get you. So I have a bad feeling this guy is about to have the worst sleep insomnia of his life, and he's not going to be able to sleep, which then just will make you crazier and crazier because you need sleep to survive. And if you don't get it, your mind is going to start playing even more tricks on you.
Bathroom door open, or whether it started to open very slowly as soon as his head hit the pillow. Sure enough, he wakes up gasping. Long, cold fingers,
my God!
abnormally long, in fact, and cold as death,
what?
closed around his throat. He's gasping in vain for breath as the hand clamps
Are you
tighter.
serious?
His eyes jolt open.
This is all from a cowbell?
That tall, thin monster lingering over him, strangling him.
What?
His face is split into a wide,
my
sadistic,
gosh.
tooth-bearing grin, or something so thin.
Bro, what does he
it's
do?
Impossibly strong. The detective can't move. He can't scream. He can't do anything.
Huh? Why not?
But as he slips from sleep to true wakefulness, the monster is
Oh,
gone.
it was a
It wafts
dream?
out of the room with all the ease of a gust of wind. He sits up, heart pounding, lungs strained, skin slick with sweat. He's never been so afraid in his life. He's been calmer during the active shootouts of his beat days all those years ago. The thing that was strangling him, it looked exactly the same as the monster from the reflection. They weren't just similar. It was exactly the same thing. Is he being stalked? Then it dawns on him. Another fragment of information swimming in the mess of his consciousness. An article he'd read a couple years before about a phenomenon known as sleep paralysis. It's when people suddenly wake up during REM sleep. Their body remains paralyzed while their consciousness activates.
Well, yeah, I've heard about this before, and I've also had it happen to me just one time, and trust me, guys, it is scary. And if you guys have had this happen to you, you know that when you wake up, you really can't move. It kind of just feels like your entire body is limp, and you're like, your brain isn't fully awake. So you can't move any of your body parts, which is really weird, but I've never had it, and I've never heard a story of it where there's a creature over top of you strangling you. That does not sound like sleep paralysis. That sounds like a nightmare demon from like the depths of purgatory.
Keeping them one foot in reality while leaving the other in a nightmare. In this state, people can believe they're being attacked by monsters or demons. And one of the major factors causing sleep paralysis? Stress. The detective sighs. He feels like an idiot. There's nothing he's experienced today that doesn't have a completely logical explanation.
I don't know,
so why does he
guy.
keep jumping to
I don't
such
know.
absurd conclusions? Twisting facts to suit theories rather than theories to suit facts. That being said, he still doesn't sleep another wink that night. He pours himself a few cups of coffee, subconsciously avoiding anything reflective, and sits in bed until sunrise, just watching his bedroom door.
This is exactly what happened to the farmer.
He keeps repeating in the empty corridors of his addled brain. He drives to work the next morning like he always does. Sitting at a stoplight, a car pulls up next to him, and he catches something in the reflection of the car's window. It's that monster again, sitting next to him, reaching out towards him with one of its huge hands. The detective gasps and spins around, his eyes flaring with panic. But of course, it isn't there.
It's almost like schizophrenia a little bit, where like people just have, I don't know, a problem where they see things that aren't really there.
Just some children on the sidewalk on their way to school. Maybe it's the fear, maybe it's the sleep deprivation, maybe it's both. But in that moment, he feels like crying. Little does he know, things are going to get so much worse.
How?
Over the following days, the frequency of the sightings increases. Anytime he finds his eyes meeting a reflective surface, that monster is there, approaching him. But of course, it runs away before he can ever look at it head on.
It's not even like it's a good-looking monster or like, I don't know, something that's like kind of not that scary. That is like the scariest looking thing. It reminds me of like something straight out of Stranger Things, straight out of the Upside Down. Like that thing looks like it has no like human parts. It has like a head kind of, but it has like giant fingers and it's like all made up of like weird looking skin. And it just creeps me out. So maybe if it was something a little bit more friendly looking, then it wouldn't be as bad, but this thing is nightmare fuel.
The people at work keep giving him funny looks. He grits his teeth. He can't say anything. If
He should tell
anyone
somebody.
what's been happening to him, they'll haul him off to the funny farm to spend the rest of his life in a padded cell.
I guess maybe
But
you're
he
right.
knows he's not crazy. It's too real to be the product of human insanity. This isn't some hallucination. That thing is really there. It's always waiting, always watching. Even when he can't see it, he can feel its eyes on him, sense its malicious intent. It's even worse at night. Every time he tries to sleep, it attacks him. He feels its hand clasping around his throat. He feels its balled fist pummeling his body. He feels its long fingernails scratching into his skin. He can't sleep anymore. He's too scared. And that too takes its toll. Every feeling, every emotion, every thought starts to take on an odd, flat quality, like nothing is quite real. He starts to subsist on coffee, energy drinks, and anything else that will give him a buzz of a.
So this is basically like the most extreme form of insomnia, where you just can't sleep and there's nothing you can really do about it. And even when he does go to sleep, because he really wants to, he gets woken up again by this demon.
He started to carry his service pistol around with him everywhere. He hides it under his pillow at night.
That's not good.
He can never be too careful. He knows that the creature is always out there, always watching, always waiting. He knows on some level that it won't stop until it has taken everything
But can you even kill it?
He's taking the subway to work again. He's messy, disoriented. His clothes stink. His bloodshot eyes are couched in unsightly bags. He shivers slightly, a nervous twitch. Put simply, he's not the man he used to be. He can't drive anymore. His nerves are too wrecked, and he has to take the bus to and from work. That's when he sees it. Not behind him this time, but on the other side of the street as he waits for his bus. It stands among the other pedestrians, all seemingly oblivious to its presence.
But nobody else can see it.
Smiles, mocking him. This time, the detective is ready. The detective won't have it. In a single fluid motion, he unholsters his pistol and begins firing at the creature.
Oh my God.
The street erupts into screams as people scatter to avoid the frantic volley of gunshots. But the creature doesn't move.
Wow.
It just keeps grinning as the detective fires, the rage and sleep deprivation throwing off his aim.
Oh my God, dude.
He hears the sound of the bell again, its toll rising. It's deafening. He needs to kill it. He needs to get closer.
Oh, he's gonna get hit by a car.
The creature, firing bullet after bullet. The creature doesn't care. He roars in animal fury. The bell toll rises. A sudden light illuminates the creature's terrible smile as the detective realizes that the sound he's hearing isn't the toll of the bell at all. He turns just in time to see the bus, but not in enough time to get out of the way. The cowbell the detective found in the barn that day seemed innocuous enough, but this old cowbell, corroded and covered in rust, which no known methods, chemical or mechanical, seemed to be able to remove, would soon have a name. SCP-513.
Okay, so we know that SCP-513, as soon as you hear the cowbell sound, it starts the process of slowly deteriorating your mind until you are so sleep deprived that you can't differentiate reality from illusion. So then you do something super stupid, like just start shooting at random nonsense that is like, it looks like a monster, but it's not technically even there. And then he didn't even realize that he was walking out into traffic, and then boom, he got squished. So I guess this SCP, honestly, is one of the more scary ones that we've seen.
It was discovered by an SCP Foundation agent during Containment Reestablished Procedure Mu at a classified containment site, where its interior was covered in duct tape to prevent it from properly making a sound. There was also a paper note attached reading, "You've seen it, now he can hear you. You've touched it, now he can see you. Never ring it. If you hear it, he can touch you." And this is a warning worth heeding, because ringing SCP-513 invariably results in death. The question is just how much mental and physical anguish it puts its victim through before that endpoint. When the bell is first rung, anyone within earshot will begin to experience extreme anxiety, including physical symptoms such as heightened heart rate and raised blood pressure. They will also report feelings of dread and may claim that they can feel themselves being watched. Within about an hour, this worry is confirmed. SCP-513-1 is the less than charming creature hounding the unfortunate bell ringer, and will begin to stalk the affected individuals. It will appear to approach individuals from behind, but quickly disappear if every subject attempts direct visual contact. It will also stage non-lethal physical attacks on its victims during their sleep in order to induce greater levels of psychological terror, though it disappears quickly upon waking. The stalking threat will only elevate over time, leading to increased psychological disarray for the victim. SCP-513-1 will eventually induce paranoia, aggression, hypervigilance, and depression, ending in a distressing and violent death. Because of the immense danger posed to anyone who hears the sound of this cowbell tolling, SCP-513 has been given extensive containment precautions, extensive enough to warrant giving it the Euclid containment class.
Okay, that just means that it's been contained enough, and it seems like there's only one Cowbell SCP, so because it was contained, it's not actively dangerous. Nobody is really able to get to it other than probably like D-class personnel that are going to run tests on it to see maybe some extra information that we don't know about.
Classification reserved for things that are often unpredictable in containment. SCP-513 is suspended in a 1 cubic meter block of gelatin.
Good.
Contained within a soundproofed, climate-controlled cell.
Okay, that is fantastic.
Inspected daily for any degradation or loss of integrity. An emergency inspection is carried out immediately following any earthquake, explosion, or sonic event grade 2 or higher. Personnel performing the inspection wear earplugs and active noise-canceling earmuffs at all times while inside SCP-513's cell to avoid any kind of accidental exposure.
I wonder why they would even have to go in there. Like, if it's in gelatin in a sealed room, like, just leave it in there. Just lock the door, throw away the key, and then just don't ever let anybody go near this thing. And then bada bing, bada boom, you don't have to worry about it.
If the gelatin cube shows any signs of degradation, such as rips, tears, splits, liquefaction, or mold, SCP-513 will be immediately removed and suspended within a replacement cube by a team of surgically deafened Class D personnel. No other personnel are to enter the cell during this procedure. Any sentient beings exposed to SCP-513 are to be monitored by at least 2 security personnel at all times. Under absolutely no circumstances may exposure victims be administered sedatives or allowed to fall unconscious. Any victim who does fall unconscious is to be terminated immediately.
What?
Class D personnel are to be terminated at the first sign of mental degradation. All other exposure victims may be terminated at their request. If possible, SCP-513-1 is to be apprehended on site, but sadly,
How?
the Foundation hasn't managed to get their hands on this unpleasant creature yet.
How would you? It can, like,
Careful
teleport.
ringing any mysterious old bells you find, or else he might just get his hands on you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Bob, and thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about the Cowbell SCP